Walters, and I'm with the Abilene High Taffy chapter at Abilene High School in Abilene, Texas, AHS-Ava. I am presenting an interactive board for students in 4th grade, and the objective is that by the end of the activity, they will be able to classify and distribute animals into the correct habitat. There are 4 habitats, and this assignment or activity can be used as a teaching method for teachers first, like when they're teaching the assignment for the first time to the students, or when the students are relearning and going back over what they've already learned and applying it to the activity. So there are 4 different habitats or environments. We have a rainforest, a forest with a mountain, an ocean, and a savanna. And so there are about 4 to 5 animals for each habitat, and they go in the correct spot. So teachers can teach this to students that don't really understand where animals belong and do a one-on-one. So they would take out any animal, the animals are in a pocket in the back, and put them in the barn and explain to students where, for example, the fox would go. Because if a student doesn't understand where the fox goes in relation to the habitats, the teacher can take the time to explain it before they show the student where it belongs. So now I'm going to be showing how to do the activity. So you take all of the animals out of the pocket. You can do this one at a time or in a group activity. So this is a good activity for hands-on learners that learn best when they're working with other students in a group. And it can also be good for visual learners that need to see what they're hearing. So here are my animals. Okay. So I'm going to take each animal and put it in the barn, and then I'm going to explain where it goes and why. So the zebra would go in the savanna because obviously it's something you can also explain. Students might see this at the zoo, and what kind of environment when you go to the zoo would you see a zebra in? And they would say the savanna because there's a water source, a tree, and it's dry. This monkey would go in the rainforest. A turtle, you could explain, goes in the ocean and not this water source or this water source because a turtle swims in currents in the ocean, and here are the currents right here. A starfish would also go in the ocean, and students will start to understand why the animals go in each habitat and learn this for themselves. So if a teacher does not need to take the time to explain each one, students can learn this in interactive play in a group. So the giraffe would go in this environment. The rhino would also go in the savanna. And you can explain that they have a water source, they have a source of shade, and in each habitat they have the right necessities they need for living and survival. So the parrot would go in the rainforest. The fox would go in the savanna. The fox would go in the mountain or forest, and the tiger would go in the savanna as well. Students will also understand depth a little bit because the animals are not to scale, so obviously the bigger animals could be closer in the front, and the smaller animals, or what looks like they're further away, would be further in the back, and they'll start to understand a sense of depth and proportion to scale. The ram would go in the forest, and you can explain because it has hooves, it can climb on the rocky mountains and can survive in cold weather. The raccoon would go in the forest as well, and you can ask them from personal experience if they've ever been camping and if they've ever had to put their supplies up so that raccoons and bears don't get into their gear. Fish would go in the ocean, and you would explain because it has gills and fins, it can swim in the water and would not survive in the forest or anywhere else except for water. The whale goes in the ocean as well, and then the butterfly goes in the rainforest. And if students are struggling to understand this, then they can also take the time to explain to the teacher why they think the animals go where they belong. And that's my activity.